church, to this larger entity called Christianity, of which they think Catholics are just a type. Right? There's all these different Christians. We're all Christians, and you have your flavor of Christianity, and I have my flavor of Christianity. Catholicism is just one of many flavors, and a particularly snooty one at that, because they don't let anybody, except them, receive communion. And if that's how you think of Catholicism, as just one type of a larger thing called Christianity, then the Catholic refusal to hand out Holy Communion to everybody makes no sense at all. But the Catholic Church is not a denomination, and that's the root of the difficulty here. Christ doesn't talk about a thing called Christianity. He doesn't talk about denominations. Christ talks about the church, and he founded the church, and he talks about it in Matthew 16. He says, on this rock of St. Peter I will build my church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. And to be included within the church is to have access to the means of grace and salvation that Christ instituted. And Christ himself gave instructions for excluding people from the church, not from my denomination, but from the church. Matthew 18. St. Paul also, 1 Corinthians, talks about excluding people from the church. When do you exclude someone from the church? When to admit them would be dangerous to themselves or others. How can being admitted be dangerous? Well, Paul tells us that if we receive the Lord's body in an unworthy way, then we are guilty of the body and blood of the Lord. That's strong language, right? Well, how do I get ready? How do I make myself properly disposed to receive Holy Communion? The only way that I can have certainty that I am properly disposed to receive Holy Communion is when the church herself, the church, the one founded by Jesus, absolves me of my sin. And that's the power that Christ gave the apostles. Whoever sins you forgive are forgiven. Whoever sins you absolve are absolved. Retain are retained. The church itself forgives me of my sin and validates that my conscience is clear to receive Holy Communion. Now, the act of receiving Holy Communion itself is a testament. It's a performing way of verifying that I believe everything that this church teaches. And so the non-Catholic doesn't believe the Catholic faith. That's why he's not Catholic. So he doesn't want to receive the sacrament that says, I believe the whole Catholic faith. Then he's testifying against himself. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't have access to reconciliation, to the sacrament of penance. So it's not safe for him or anybody to go to communion. Even for a Catholic, it's not safe unless you're properly disposed. That's a lot to swallow. But the fact of the matter is, we regard the church as the church founded by Christ. And the denominations are institutions that broke away from Catholic unity because they rejected one or other parts of the Catholic heritage, and to their hurt. And we want to be charitable and kind and loving. The church regards these people as separated brethren that have elements of truth and sanctification. But and we're not going to try to force them, and we're not going to beat them over the head, right? But we don't need to lament the law of the church, which is there for the salvation of souls, not to make people feel bad, but to create in them a motive for holiness and to bring them into the full truth about Christ and the church that he founded.
Jane, thank you so much for your call. Angie in Moore, South Carolina.